How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to Review the Prem, where me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. We've got a scoring system, and the way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man. Once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season. 2 points for an assist, 5 points for a goal, and let's see how we got on this weekend.
A
massive weekend. Massive weekend. And we'll get into all of it game by game, and we're going to start off at Villa Park as Aston. No better place to start. As Aston Villa won 2-1 against Arsenal. Sim went for 2-2. I went for 1-1. So it looked like I was on my way to a 5-pointer. Probably the best ever 5-pointer that I've lost this season, to be fair.
There are ways to lose 5 pointers.
And that is, yeah, exactly. I was walking up the steps at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and as soon as I got to the top, I just saw carnage break out in front of me because Emi Buendia had put Aston Villa 2-1, literally the last kick of the game.
Happiest Spurs fan to be in at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this season.
I was watching
after the final whistle this weekend.
Yeah, I was watching the first half, and I thought Aston Villa were pretty good, to be honest. I thought they were creating chances. They were the better side. Arteta made 2 changes at half-time. I didn't see much of the second half, but I heard Arsenal very much came back into it and were probably the better team in the second half.
It was a really good game of football. I think it's easy to say Villa were just a better team and Arsenal didn't turn up, but I don't think that's quite accurate. I think Arsenal actually played quite well, and I think, to be fair, I think first half Villa were the better team, and it was no surprise when they took the lead. They definitely deserved to. But Arsenal were always a threat. They had a goal ruled out from offside. I think Saka missed a few opportunities as well. But Matt Cash, by the way, becoming a bit of a clutch player, scored the winner against City, scored against Arsenal now at Villa Park. So he's starting to really turn up in the goals this season for them.
It's not even just the goals, though. I think he's becoming one of the Premier League's best right backs.
He's been phenomenal this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but he's getting forward so much more, and he's getting in really awkward positions for the opposition. But yeah, first half, I think Villa fully deserved that lead. But as you say, Arsenal did make a few changes. Trossard, who's becoming, I talk about Mr. Clutch for Villa, he's becoming Mr. Clutch for Arsenal. Always there for the big goals, isn't he? Always there for important goals, Leandro Trossard. Goes under the radar, but he always just seems to, when Arsenal really need it, especially this season, but he has done it in previous seasons as well, he's just at the right place at the right time, and he's always kind of, he always gets these big moments. So equalised very early on in that second half, thinking, okay, Arsenal back in this game, are they going to go on to win? And I think they did actually control it for large parts that second half, and it looked like there was going to be one winner, it was going to be Arsenal, but I think Villa, Unai Emery, credit to him, because he could have looked at the situation and thought, all right, let's get some defenders on, let's change up and try and secure this draw. But he actually made some attacking changes, brought on Daniel Marlon, brought on Emi Buendia, and actually wrestled control back of the game and didn't settle for a draw, which most teams probably in that situation might have done, and actually changed up, asked Arsenal different questions, and I thought they ended the game so much stronger. And the goal, when that happened, was coming. It wasn't a surprise when Villa ended up scoring the winner, because Villa were creating chance after chance in the latter stages of the game, and Arsenal kind of ran out of steam, ran out of energy, and they did miss a few opportunities to take the lead. And maybe at that point, they should have been the ones settling for a draw, because there was only going to be one winner come the end of it, and it was going to be Aston Villa. Unbelievable scenes. Buendia in the 95th minute, and Arsenal, well, their lead at the top has been cut.
Yeah.
By Villa of all teams.
But look, you've got to give, first of all, Unai Emery seems to have Mikel Arteta's number. Seems like the only man in the league that does have that at this moment in time. But Aston Villa now 3 points behind Arsenal in second, or they're third actually, with Man City 2 points behind now.
Incredible.
But this run that they're on, they've beaten Man City and Arsenal in recent weeks. They're, I think, 7 wins in a row or something crazy in all competitions. You know, we all said they were done, and Unai Emery's done at Aston Villa in the early stage of the season, but they're the on-form team in the Premier League. Nobody's better than them at the moment.
Absolutely. I think, hold my hands up, completely wrong about Villa. I think at the beginning of the season, I really thought it was going stale for them, but he's just answered all the critics. And even though they had a quiet summer, he's just seemed to find something extra out of these players. And even though Watkins hasn't even had a great season, they've just found a way to win games. Buendia seems to be coming into his own this season. He's just found different ways of attacking. And they just keep getting wins, and it just keeps rolling on. And now you're begging the question, are they actually in a title race? 3 points behind Arsenal. Can they last the distance? I mean, are they good enough? I mean, Villa fans are dreaming. You've got to think about it as well. It's Emre's, fourth season?
Third or fourth, yeah.
I think it's fourth. He actually came in on the same time Conte was there, I think.
It was halfway through the season, wasn't it? Yeah.
So, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20. So what, fifth season? Oh, does that sound right? Yeah, maybe it's his fifth season. So is his tenure crescendoing a bit like maybe Pochettino, like into a title race here? Is this their time? You know, they've been top 4 regulars, got to say, or top 5 regulars for the last few seasons. Is it time for them to take the next step? For me, I just can't see it. I mean, as much as I'd love to dream about that, and Emre taking the title off Arsenal, which would be poetic, do they really have the squad to challenge for a title? I don't know. I have big doubts about that. But you know what? Credit to them. They're playing extremely well at the moment. Tielemans, oh my word, what a performance by Yuri Tielemans. He was phenomenal. Arsenal couldn't handle him. They played kind of like 2 pocket number 10s, and Arsenal just weren't prepared for it, it seems. Rodgers and Tielemans just like were just knitting things together in between the lines, and Arsenal struggled to deal with it. And look, Villa fans are going to dream, but look, as long as the point gap is that small, why not? Why not dream?
Yeah, they got to keep it going. They got Europe to contend with. They got the cup competitions as well. It's a long old season, so I think to be 3 points behind Arsenal at this stage is obviously very impressive, but there's such a long way to go.
Do they have the squad for it? I don't think so.
I don't know if anyone has the squad for it, to be honest, apart from Man City.
It's true. But look, going to Arsenal now, you know, to be fair, you said after the Sunderland game, you know, they drew that game. Is that sign to them bottling it? They then played against 10-man Chelsea for a half and didn't win the game.
They've dropped points in 3 of the last 4 games.
And now they've lost to Aston Villa. That Chelsea, now, I think if you look after this result, I think this result can happen. Like, Villa away, tough place to go. Emre has, as you say, he's got Arteta's number. It's not a massive surprise, maybe they've lost this game. But in hindsight now, having lost this game, that drop point against Sunderland and failing to beat Chelsea, who had 10 men, is looking worse and worse.
Look, I'm seeing a lot of Arsenal fans blaming injuries and blaming defensive options and stuff, and I am not having that excuse by any stretch of the imagination. Every Arsenal fan and every fan from around the Premier League came into this season saying, wow, look at Arsenal's depth. Anyone gets injured, we've got adequate cover. You know, they've played a back 2 of Timber and Calafiori, and Hincapié, right? They're all waxing lyrical about Hincapié right now. They've been waxing lyrical about Timber for so long, albeit at right back, but still steps in at centre back and does admirably well. You know, they've got adequate cover in every position to cover for all their injuries. And yes, I understand that Gabriel and Saliba have been that kind of base that they've kind of relied upon for, you know, many years, but still, they've got top players to come in instead of them. So I am not having this excuse about injuries whatsoever. Like, they should be doing better in 3 out of their last 4 games. And I said to you, I'm telling you, with that Spurs game, if it was anyone else playing them apart from Tottenham on that day, they would have dropped points. I'm telling you, they're bottling it right now. And look, I still think, you know, they'll get back on track at some point, but they should be doing a lot better. And they were, 6 points in the lead. Now it's 2 points, so it's game on.
I mean, I don't know how many points they were at one point ahead of City. I think it was 7, wasn't it, at one point? Now they've cut that
7,
gap.
yeah.
I think they've obviously cut that gap to 2 points. We'll get on to City in a minute, in a moment. But yeah, I think, look, they have, to be fair to them, which I don't like being fair to Arsenal, but to be fair to them, they have had a tough run. Like the games they've had recently have been difficult, you know, tough away games. They have had a tough run of fixtures. So dropping points in this tough run is not a surprise, but I think it's, in a way, it's like the manner in which they've dropped a lot of these points. 2-1 up against Sunderland, going to last minute, dropping points, playing against 10 men, Chelsea, and not winning that game. And then obviously now losing in the last minute against Aston Villa. That should have really been 7 points, and they've taken 2, right? So I think from that point of view, they've had they could have, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're probably sitting here thinking we could be, if you had 7 points, we could be 9 points clear. That's what really should be the case. But they're not. They're not, and they've let the gap be cap, and now the gap be cut, and now the title is absolutely wide open. And you with City purring at the moment, I think the problem for Arsenal is it becomes a psychological battle. I don't think what's happening right now they'll be overly worried because, as I say, I think a lot of these games they have played quite well and they have had a tough run, but they do have injuries at the moment. They've been caught up. They're not attacking amazingly at the moment as well. No, the
I'm not having the excuse of injuries, man, with this Arsenal squad. I'm not having it. This is why they built this squad, because to deal with this situation.
Yeah, but there's one thing having injuries, and then you have injuries in this tough run. If they had Saliba and Gabriel both fit in this run, would it have been a bit different? Maybe. But I'm not. It's not an excuse. It's just reality. But I agree with you. It doesn't really matter because how many injuries have City had this season? All the teams get injuries, so you can't use an excuse. But they have had a tough run, and I don't think they'll look at this and think, okay, like we're really failing, we're really bottling it. They still got a lead, having had some tough games. But at the end of the day, City have been here and done that. They know what it's like to be behind, chasing a team. Arsenal have bottled Leeds before, and I think it comes to psychology. I think a lot of the time, and Pep Guardiola is going to remain calm. He's going to know what his team needs to do to get back in this title race, or even win the title. Whereas Arsenal are still yet to get over the line. So when it comes to crunch time, when they really need a result, and the nerves are getting to you, are they going to be able to pull results out of the bag? We'll have to wait and see. And right now, as you said, and maybe you're right. They've had chances to extend the lead and be out of sight, and they haven't taken them. Is that going to come back to bite them? They had real opportunities in games where they should really have taken 3 points. Maybe not necessarily this game, but now they've lost this game. You look back at the other games and think they should be out. They should be 9 points clear now in this league.
Look, the reality is, right, we're not even halfway through the season yet. Mm-hmm. So there's still so much football left to be played, and there's still enough time for Arsenal to extend that gap again. They do look like the most solid outfit. They do look like the best squad in the league. But the patterns of what I'm seeing with this Arsenal team doesn't seem to be changed from previous seasons in terms of when other teams are dropping points around them. Can they capitalise? Can they win that game and take that lead and take commanding position in this league? The answer is still no.
I think it was all set up for them to run away with it. Yeah. And with all the inconsistent form of City and the other teams.
It's still a possibility that still happens.
I know, but I'm saying in this small period, right? We saw last season, there was inconsistencies in the top teams, and Liverpool took advantage, consistent, and by this point they were 9 points clear or 8 points clear.
Something
by this
like
point.
That, yeah.
So they really threw the gauntlet down. Arsenal had a chance to do that, is my point. They had an opportunity to really show this is our title, and if you're gonna catch us up, you're gonna have to be perfect. They have for them, they have let that slip, and now they've allowed the teams to catch up in a period, albeit it's been a tough period, where you look at the games and they should be 9 points clear how the games have gone, and they've allowed it to get away from them. Now all of a sudden, from a period where they were easily the front runners, they're now only 2 points ahead. Where really, when you look at Man City's form this season, they should be well clear of City, and yet City have caught them up.
Yeah, I do think there'll be more opportunities for Arsenal to do that, and I think this weekend coming is a clear example of that, because Man City have to go to Palace away, and I don't know if Man City win that game. So there are more opportunities for Arsenal, but as of now, as of this point of the season, as of what we've seen over the last month, it's similar patterns for Arsenal, in my opinion. And I said that after the Sunderland game, and everyone laughed at me, but here we are. Here we are. All right. So 0 points each for that. Let's go on to Bournemouth against Chelsea. 0-0 at the Vitality. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 2-2. So we both get a point on the board for this one. Chelsea, man, after getting a draw against Arsenal with 10 men and wiping the floor with Barcelona in the space of a week, can't win since then. What is going on with Chelsea?
What was it? 3 games in a row, 2 draws and a loss. To be fair, one of them was with 10 men against Arsenal, but then losing to Leeds is obviously a disaster. And then drawing this game, not good at all. And Bournemouth were the better team, to be fair, throughout this game. And I thought Bournemouth probably deserved the win. If anyone was going to take 3 points, they're the ones creating the better chances, albeit Bournemouth not in the best form in their own right as well. But Chelsea have gone from a title race to a real dogfight for top 4 now. Yeah. Somehow, Tottenham in 10th, only 3 points behind them after the disaster we've had for quite a period, and the good form Chelsea have been in for quite some time. Somehow,
just shows you the fine line in this league, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit of bad form, and all of a sudden they're right there. And I think, look, we all thought that the title challenge is probably too early for them anyway, albeit they did close the gap to Arsenal for a period. But yeah, I think Chelsea, I do think they lack depth, and in the forward line, obviously Delap picked up a bad injury in this one, dislocating his shoulder. They don't really have a proper number 9 without him. He hasn't even been doing well anyway because he hasn't scored a goal this season. But now he's going to be out for 2 months off, just coming back off a 6-week injury he had at the beginning of the season. João Pedro for me is not a pure number 9. He's like a false 9. I think is his best position. Mark Guiu, whatever how you pronounce it. I don't know anyone who's been impressed with him so far in a Chelsea shirt. So without
he's done decent in the cups, hasn't he?
In the Conference League, he did all right. Like, I don't know if he can lead the line for them. So without that pure number 9, are they going to have these results where they're just being shut out, like on occasion? Look, they do have a lot of attacking talent.
Does it suggest that Maresca fancies him more of a 9, though, if he's going for him in this game when Delap goes off and João Pedro doesn't come on till half an hour to go? So maybe he is a bit impressed with him. He's still young, isn't he? And he's got a lot of developing to do.
Yeah, but he's not going to lead the line for them, is he?
Who's going to do it?
I know, but I'm not saying he's not going to play. I'm just saying, can you rely on him to be your goal scorer? Probably
Sometimes
not.
you just need a chance, and you never know. I'm not sitting here. I don't know much about him, so I'm not sitting here and saying
he hasn't
that he's going to have done
season.
well. Yeah, I know, because they've gone for João Pedro, and at that stage of the season, João Pedro was actually doing really well, and then Delap's come back, and he's not done much. So they're going to have to put their faith in someone, and they just got to hope that he can perform.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, they're relying on him potentially, and until they sort out that striker situation, I think they're going to have games here where they're nullified, and against teams who defend.
I reckon they play Cole Palmer in the false 9.
They could do that. Look, he has to find a solution, because right now, I mean, the last couple of games they've looked a bit toothless up front.
Yeah.
So against like 2 teams where, you know, Chelsea, if they have ambitions of challenging the very top, they need to be winning. But obviously, I think this season's going to come a bit early for them. But yeah, look, it's a bad result, and I think Bournemouth will be kicking themselves because they did miss some real gilt-edged chances in this game, and they probably should have won.
Yeah. But Bournemouth, I mean, they just can't buy a win at this moment in time. How many games is it winless now for them? It's like 5 or 6, seriously.
Well, definitely 5, I can see. 1, 2, 3, 5. They last beat Forest in October.
Which is mad. So I think it's like 2 wins for them since September or something crazy like that. Which, you know, all the praise that Andoni was getting in the early stage of the season and Bournemouth were getting, it's just completely flipped on its head now. Now, where are they sitting in the league? 13th.
13th at the moment.
Crazy. So that's that.
Oh, sorry, no, it's 6. Sorry, I missed the draw. It's 6 games out a win.
Yeah, 6 games and 1 win in 7.
4 losses and 2 draws. Yeah, 1 win in 7. Yeah. I mean, they've been quite close games, a lot of them, but look, at the end of the day, it's the fine margin of the Premier League. And unfortunately, yeah, they're getting undone at the moment. Are they running out with energy? I feel like they'll...
How can you run out of energy? And we're not even halfway through the season.
I know. No, maybe it's not an excuse then. I think they'll start to turn their form around at some point. But I feel like sometimes with this Bournemouth side, they go through these wild swings in form. I think we saw that last season.
This is excessive, though. This is quite excessive.
Second half of last season, they went through a similar patch.
Second half of last season, though, was more kind of acceptable to run out of energy, not in the first stage of the season. You know what I mean?
Fair.
But anyway, let's move on to Everton. 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. Sean Dyche losing to his old team at the Hill Dickinson. Everton, man, what a run of form they're on. 4 wins in their last 5 games. They're sitting 6th in the league, above Liverpool, well and firmly in the top 4 race.
Incredible.
What is Moyes cooking up at Everton?
But it was only a few weeks ago they were down near the bottom and they were struggling to form. Now they've won 4 in their last 5 and they're up to
Everton
6th.
and Bournemouth have completely roles reversed.
Literally, and this right is mad. It shows what a run of form can do for you, because all of a sudden they're in a race for Europe. Now, David Moyes played it down. He was asked about, Everton in the European races. He said, look, a club like Everton should be in the race for Europe and they should be qualifying for Europe, but he has to be realistic and he doesn't think they have the squad for it. And yes, we'll try our best, but he thinks realistically they're not in the race, which is like a fair opinion. But look, I was saying before Moyes went to Everton that he is a manager that has regularly, whatever you want to say about Moyes, he does regularly challenge for Europe. He did it with Everton before. He did it with West Ham. Could he do it with Everton again? Could he get them challenging? Again, is their squad deep enough? At the moment, they do have quite a decent first level in terms of their, like, you got Grealish, Dewsbury, Hall and Dye. Good players there. they do have some really good players there, but are they seriously going to be come March, April in those European spots? I do find it hard to believe, but they're on a great run of form.
But I look at teams that they want to be competing with for those positions, like your Crystal Palaces and your Bournemouth, because I don't think they'll be above like your Chelseas or your Villas or probably even Spurs and Newcastles. I know Newcastle and Spurs are not there at this moment in time, but I do think they'll be above it. So I think where they should be aiming for is to be competing with your Crystal Palaces and your Bournemouths and those kind of teams. And I think in terms of squad depth, they've got similar amount of squad depth to those teams.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that's fair. But I'm talking about in terms of being in Europe.
Yeah, like a Conference League space. I think that's well within their grasp this season.
Well, that have to be 7th, depending on who wins the cup. It has to be 7th or 8th, doesn't it?
Yeah, I predicted them 8th before the start of the season, and I remember we had a conversation about it, and I think where did you put them?
Somewhere like 12th, 13th.
Yeah, so
I mean, it could easily still be that.
Yeah, it could be, and I don't think there's going to be many points maybe from 8th to 13th. So it could be anyone, but I think David Moyes got a good thing going on there. I think he's got some good players there. Jack Grealish, been there, done it. In Dye, obviously he's going after AFCON, but he's a very good player. I like their defensive line as well. They've got some good midfielders. I think they've got a decent team. I think where they really need to improve on in January is a number 9. I know Barry scored his first goal in an Everton shirt this weekend, but they need a much better number 9 to lead the line for them.
I think if they finish in the top 10 this season, that's a
great
very
good
for them.
James Garner's having a great season as well.
Yeah, he's actually been quite consistent with them now for a couple of years, so credit to him. And a great result, and I thought they would struggle a bit more in this game, but you know what? Took the game to Forest and wiped the floor with them. Yeah, in terms of Forest,
you thought they would struggle a bit more. You predicted them to win 2-0.
Yeah, but I didn't think it would be. They won 3-0. They won 3-0. I thought it would be a tighter game, but Forest were just completely outsorted in this game.
Yeah.
Forest though, 17th. 2 points now away from West Ham. With Leeds picking up form, that's got to be a bit of a worry for them. All of a sudden, Leeds changing their fortunes, but they've had Forest were probably looking at Leeds like, okay, their form is declining, like we should be okay here. But with them improving, West Ham starting to get more points. They need to watch themselves.
Who need to watch themselves?
Forest,
yeah, 100%. Man City 3, Sunderland 0. Sim went for 2-0. I went for 2-1. We both get a point for this one. Man City were 2-0 up within half an hour with Gvardiol and Ruben Diaz, 2 centre-backs scoring their goals. And I thought they did well to control the game from then. Obviously, Phil Foden back on firing form, sealing it off with the 3-0. And classic Luke O'Nien getting sent off in the last stage of the game. I think the card got changed from a yellow to a red by VAR. And Luke O'Nien, he's a Sunderland official captain, and he had to wait so long for his Premier League debut. He tweeted out and he was crying and saying, like, it's such an emotional moment. I've been dreaming of this moment. And then the next game he gets a red card, which is in the Luke O'Nien playbook.
Yeah. But in terms of Man City and their title credentials, having seen Arsenal lose, this was a potential banana skin, wasn't it? Sunderland, who have been quite defensively solid, hard to break down. And yet I thought it was a City performance we haven't seen too much of this season, where it's just professional. They had all that attacking chances, all that attacking endeavour, and didn't really give too much away. Although I would say at 2-0, there was a little period where Sunderland did get back in the game a bit, and Ruben Diaz made a bad mistake. Isidore had a one-on-one, and Donnarumma had to make a big save, and then Xhaka hit the post. But after that, it was a real masterclass in counter-attacking football with Cherky, Haaland. They were just completely destroying Sunderland on the counter. It probably should have been more than 3-0 in the end. So I think Man City really laying down their ability in this game, because I thought, yes, in previous games, you have to say, losing Leeds to Leeds, and winning that game, and then obviously being 5-1 up against Fulham and nearly giving that away. You're looking at that and probably thinking, do this team really have what it is to win the title with this kind of defence? But one thing that gets overlooked is they are scoring a hell of a lot of goals right now, and their attack is really purring. They're starting to open teams up like they used to. Foden is back on form. It's like 3 games in a row now he scored. Cherky yesterday was absolutely phenomenal, and he seems to be really acclimatising to the Premier League. Obviously, Haaland is still Haaland, so they're really starting to open teams up and score lots of goals. And if they can start to get that defence right and start to concede less and less chances, they're going to be one hell of a team to stop. And that has got to be worrying Arsenal.
You know what, yeah, like everyone brings up the comments saying great attacks win football matches and great defences win leagues, right? I'm looking at Man City whenever they've won the league title. They've never had a great defence. They've always just scored more than the opposition. This is what they know. This is what they know how to do. And I think ever since Arsenal have come into the title race and had a really solid defence, I think people have gone back to that quote and kind of forgotten how Man City have actually won these league titles. And I think it's always been their attack that have won them the league titles.
Well, I actually looked into this. It was a few weeks ago, but I was looking at that, thinking about that quote, like how true is it? But actually, if you look at the last 10 Premier League seasons, it's usually the team that scores the most goals that wins, not the team that concedes the least. Sometimes it's both, but the team that concedes the least isn't the team that usually wins the league. It's actually the team that scores the most. And Man City at the moment are scoring a hell of a lot of goals. And yes, look, you can't keep conceding the amount of goals they are conceding at the moment, and that has to be addressed. But they did keep a clean sheet in this game, and they looked unbelievable going forward. And the fact is with Man City, we all know they usually kick into gear at this kind of point. And if they're going to do that and start just swatting teams aside like we've seen in previous seasons, and they're going to start being consistent, then Arsenal have got one hell of a job to keep them away from them.
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong, they've got a vulnerable side to them, Man City, and that's not great when you're going up against an Arsenal team that just looks solid throughout. And yes, I know they've just lost, but they go to Palace next. Palace, that's going to be one hell of a hard game.
Yeah,
it really is. If they can go and win at Palace, then I think a lot of people are going to start having a lot more belief that Man City can go and do the job. But the main thing for me with this Man City side, we were saying, because there was a stage of the season, if Haaland didn't score, Man City didn't score. Now Haaland stopped scoring for a little bit, but there are other players chipping in now. Foden's chipping in. Gvardiol's got a couple of goals. Cherki's chipping in with some nice goal contributions as well. Doku as well. So they've got goals from all over the park now. Haaland's not scoring.
Yeah, that front four, Foden, Cherki, Haaland and Doku, I think that might be the best in the league. I really have to say, I think when it gets going, like they are delightful. And let's talk about Cherki for a bit. The Rabona assist is unlocking his inner Eric Lamela.
I love Ryan Cherki, man. Every time I watch him play, he's just a delight to watch, man. Full of tricks, so aggressive. Just gets forward at every opportunity and has got quality at the end of it as well. I think he's an unbelievable player.
I think he has a case for being the most enjoyable player to watch in the league when he's in full flight, when he's playing like he did yesterday. Sunderland.
Him and Doku.
Yeah, him and Doku on either wing.
Yeah.
Sunderland just couldn't get near him. It was incredible to watch. He absolutely had their defence on toast. And there was also another moment he ran down the touchline, did a couple of tricks and did like a little chip to Haaland, who had a shot cleared off the line.
You know what he reminds me of, Ryan Cherki? Basically a good Adel Taarabt. You know what I mean? That kind of style of player.
Yeah, just a maverick.
Yeah.
But Pep had a few words. He said, I've never seen Messi do an assist like that, but I prefer my players, they need to be effective, not just do the simple thing. Was he kind of playing down that magic moment? Was he saying, look, you just need to do the simple thing and get the assist rather than doing, that piece of skill?
Yeah, look, I think Pep Guardiola, he's all about, you need to do exactly what I say in my system. And I think Pep Guardiola, for whatever you want to say, he does play kind of simple and effective football, keep the ball, progress the ball up the pitch and put the ball in the back of the net. And look, I think if Ryan Cherki keeps doing these kind of things and it's effective, then it's not going to be a problem. But, if you try these things 3 times out of 5, it won't come off, and Pep Guardiola is going to get very angry about that.
Yeah, it's got to be a bit disheartening though for Arsenal when you lost the game. You're hoping Sunderland give City a tough time, and the way they just swatted them aside so easily, that's got to be a bit of a worrying sign for them when they're chasing them down.
Yeah, look, I think they always expected to beat Sunderland at home. If it was away, if it was at Stadium of Light, I would have think Arsenal would be a bit more disheartened. But because it's at home, I think Arsenal fans fully expected Man City to win the game.
I'm not saying they didn't expect to win, but the way they won, it's just the way they just look like they're purring again going forward, and they're looking up, like those front four players looking unstoppable.
There's definitely anxiety in the Arsenal fan base, I'll tell you that for free. All right, let's go to Newcastle against Burnley. It finished 2-1 at St James's Park. I went for 2-0, you went for 3-0. We both get a point in this one. I actually felt the early exchanges of this game, both teams were kind of giving as good as they were getting. And then obviously Newcastle go 1-0 up with Bruno Guimaraes, and then it kind of...
Olympico.
Yeah, it was kind of like one-way traffic from there, really, until Burnley had a bit of a late rally.
Yeah, it was a weird game because they got those 2 late goals after not really playing that well, Newcastle, I felt, in that first half. But after going down to 10 men, they got the goals, one, as I said, being an Olympico, and the other one was a penalty from Anthony Gordon. But they didn't the second half was... They just kind of let the game drift a bit in that second half. They didn't really I thought for sure, they're going to make it 3 and 4. They just never quite did it.
I think it was like when you go down to 10 men and you're 2-0 up, it's just kind of like cruise control, isn't it? And you're just trying to... You kind of, in your mind, it shouldn't be like this for professional footballers, but in their mind, it was kind of like the game's already won. They're probably thinking about the next game already.
Yeah, and they nearly cost them because they conceded in the last minute. And if you watch the game, highlights as well, right at the end, Burnley actually had an unbelievable chance to make it 2-2, which they did miss. And I actually thought Burnley, for large parts, were quite impressive in this game. Scott Parker, at the end of the game, saying it was Burnley's best performance of the season. And he was very proud of them. But it's another loss for them, unfortunately. But Newcastle,
I still think Newcastle did control a lot of the second half, though.
I mean, you would when they're down to 10 men, but they didn't really look like they were going to extend the lead. And they kind of just let the game drift a bit. And they, in that kind of scenario, you want to see your team just put the game to bed. 2-0, even against 10 men, there's a slight opening there. You just got to put the game to bed. And they just allowed the game to drift a bit, and it nearly cost them near the end. But they won the game. They got the 3 points, and they'll move on. But it wasn't the most impressive performance.
If only they had Harvey Barnes, eh?
Yeah, if only. They should have brought him on. They should have brought him on. And I'm pissed at Eddie. Why didn't he bring him on? Could have sealed the game for them. Should have sealed the game for them. But yeah, in terms of Burnley, I mean, they just can't. They're now really starting to get cut adrift, aren't they? 5 points away from 7 teams. So as the weeks go on, they're getting further and further away, unfortunately.
Yeah. Who they got next? They got Fulham at home next, Bournemouth away, Everton at home, Newcastle at home. I mean, they got
big games. They need to start getting.
They need
points.
to get 3 points against Fulham first and foremost, and then they can see what happens from there. But that's a big game for them, that Fulham game, because that's actually a winnable game. Fulham away.
And in terms of Bruno, that was we've seen a few Olympicos, haven't we, over the past year? We had Sonny, we had Matthias Cunha as well, and now Bruno had to add to the list.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 2, Brentford 0 in the Thomas Frank derby. We were predicted 2-1 to Spurs, so 1 point each for this one. This was a massive departure of what we've seen from Tottenham Hotspur this season, particularly at home, well, even away, even in games that we've won this season. This was a Tottenham performance that you enjoyed watching, that you wanted to see, that we've been calling for. Xavi gets his start in the 10, influential throughout, goal and assist, proper high quality. And it's the first time I've seen us this season dominate a team from minute 1 all the way to the end of the game. It was 2-0, but it could have been a lot more.
Yeah, I really hope this is a sign of things to come for Tottenham and Thomas Frank. Hopefully this is the moment Frank Ball arrived and Xavi arrived in the Premier League, because unfortunately the football's been hard to watch for most of the season. But thankfully, on Saturday, Spurs finally put in a strong home performance against a team that they were expected to win. They dominated, they were high pressing, they were aggressive, they didn't give Brentford a moment to breathe. And it's probably the first time this season that for 90 minutes they really dominated a team at home without really giving anything up, and created lots of chances. So I think Frank will be delighted. Xavi, who's struggled at times this season to acclimatise to the Premier League, really showed what he's all about, getting a goal and assist for the first time in this season for Spurs, especially the goal as well, running from the halfway line, showing that composure to finish it. And look, Spurs have been, especially Spurs fans, last week or 2 weeks ago was it, booing their own player, and there was a lot of disgruntlement in the ranks, and a lot of Spurs fans questioning, where is this going under Thomas Frank? We can't seem to get a shot on target, we can't seem to create chances, we're playing pragmatic football, it's hard to watch. But it seemed as though Frank let the handbrake off in this game, and Spurs just went for it. They decided we're going to focus on our strengths, and it worked for us, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come for Tottenham. Yeah,
let's hope so. But Brentford, on the other hand, I mean, they would have thought, I think they came into this game not expecting something, but really believing that they could take something from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, like many other teams have done this season. But I thought they put in a really poor performance, to be honest. I'm not sure if it was just them being poor or Spurs kind of like pressing them into submission. but it's the poorest I've seen Brentford this season.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you. I think they came into this game thinking we're going to take it to Spurs and we can win this game. Like, they're not that good, and I actually think that cost them. Maybe they weren't showing us enough respect, because I think they were pressing us really high, and that's exactly how we caught them out, with Xavi running twice in behind and exploiting that space.
Yeah.
And that's where we got the goal. So yeah, I think Brentford may be a bit guilty of underestimating Spurs in this game.
Leeds against Liverpool. What a game this was. 3-3 at Ellen Road. I went for 2-2, so I get a point here. Sim went for 2-1 to Liverpool. He was close to a 1 point, or I was even close to 5 points at one stage. And yeah, it's just Liverpool just can't catch a break at this moment in time. You know, half-time 0-0. And you know, I think 10 minutes in or 5 minutes into the second half, Liverpool find themselves 2-0 up, and you're thinking, all right, Liverpool are going to finally get 3 points again. And on the 75th minute, it's 2-2, and you're thinking, oh, here we go again. Szoboszlai puts them 3-2 up, and you're like, all right, Liverpool have saved themselves. Tanaka in the last minute grabs the equaliser for Leeds. First of all, what a run Leeds are on. Beating Brilliant. Chelsea 3-3 now against Liverpool. And not forget, before that, they were 2-0 down to Man City, got it back to 2-2. They lost it at the death, but still, you got to give them a lot of credit for the comeback in that game. So Leeds were down and out a few weeks ago. Everyone was saying, you know, they're losing every game, they're certain to go down, but they played 3 really hard games and got a lot of credit in the bank after these 3 games.
Amazing. I think there was after the City game or before the City game, they were saying if Farke doesn't get any points out of Chelsea and Liverpool at home, he's going to be sacked.
Yeah.
And that's one way to save your job, isn't it? Beating Chelsea and getting a draw against Liverpool. Absolutely incredible. So massive credit to Farke for turning it around. It seems as though that half-time switch of formation at City has been a real moment in their season so far, a real flip of the switch. And sometimes you need that. And he just changed formation, and everything has seemed to have changed. Whether they can continue it, we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, phenomenal for Farke, and he seemed an absolutely relieved man at the end of this game. But for Liverpool, it's such a weird game to analyse, because they were 2-0 up and, you know, cruising. Like, Leeds weren't really in the game. They weren't really doing much. And after Liverpool with those 2 quick goals from Ekitike, to be fair, one of them was a mistake from Rodon, but you've got to take advantage of it. You've got to brace, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to cruise to a away win. And then out of nothing, Konate, the ball's going out of play, and he just slides on Nonto. What is he doing, Konate?
The guy's had such a poor season, Konate.
He's just allowing Leeds back in the game out of nowhere with a stupid, brainless penalty. And Slot after the game said, too often this season, Konate has been at the scene of the crime, and there's no way better of putting it, I think.
Yeah, look, we've been slating Konate all season on this show. Well, I have anyway, and I think he's been so poor. He's had his head turned in the summer. He's refusing to sign that new deal. And look, Liverpool tried their hardest to get Mark Gehi in the summer. It didn't happen for one reason or another. They failed to get, you know, any improvements in the back line. They signed that Leone, and he gets an ACL or something as soon as he joins. So I do feel for them a bit in that sense, because they did try and get a centre back in, and look, it didn't happen. And Konate is just putting in stinker after stinker, week after week. It must be so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, exactly, and it was horrible. They then made it 2-2 like very quickly, because they just had that momentum. Once the Ellen Road crowd gets up, they can be a hard team to stop, and that momentum just flowed through them. They made it 2-2, but as you say, great goal from Szoboszlai to make it 3-2 and get back in the lead, but they just couldn't hang on to it. There was a crucial moment in this game where they were 3-2 up, and then Joe Gomez had a 3-on-1 to kill the game. He had 2 Liverpool players in support. There was 1 Leeds defender, and instead of going for goal, he went to the corner. And I was thinking, what are you doing? Just kill the game. He had so much space, and he was so focused on protecting the lead. Maybe it was because he was just, you know, there's so much anxiety about winning games. He's like, all right, let's just see this out. He doesn't go for the killer goal, and that ultimately cost them, because they made a mistake in the corner and make it 3-3. And obviously, Arne Slot coming under more and more pressure. And the big talking point, that absolute blockbuster interview from Mo Salah after the game. He was on the bench, didn't come on for the second time in 3 games. He hasn't played a minute. And he did that unbelievable interview after the game saying he feels Liverpool are throwing him under the bus. He says he all of a sudden has no relationship with The manager, after having a good relationship last season, he said, I'm a player who has earned his position. I shouldn't have to fight for my position, and he's being thrown under the bus by Liverpool. What do you think of that? Do you think he's in the right? Do you think Slot is in the right to have dropped him? What would you think about it?
I think it's an absolutely disgraceful interview, to be honest. I think Mo Salah, yes, he's right in a sense. He's given so much to Liverpool. Look at what he did last season. Look at what he's done over the last however many years it's been. He's one of the best right wingers, if not the best right winger, to grace the Premier League. However, this season he's not been good enough. This season he's been poor. This season he hasn't been the sole reason, but he's been a reason that Liverpool haven't been good this season. He's been on the right-hand side and he's been hampering them from that aspect. He hasn't been getting the goals contributions that, to help Liverpool through this bad period. And the manager's made a decision to drop him from the team to try and find some good solutions. And I don't think that should be an issue. He knows, he's 33 years of age and maybe he's not the player that he was last season or in his time at Liverpool. So I think he needs to have a bit of awareness about what the actual situation is and what his situation is. And maybe it's wrong not to bring him on, when you're struggling in a game. Definitely when it goes to 2-2, you could have brought him on for a bit of firepower. I think maybe that was a little bit disrespectful, or maybe there could be a bit more respect towards Mo Salah. If the situation is as well that there was a great relationship with the manager and suddenly that relationship is completely broken down, I think that's completely wrong as well. So I think there maybe is some wrongdoing on both parts, but Mo Salah should have some more respect for the club that he's at for many years. He's a legend at that club, and to put an interview out like that, I think it's completely disrespectful. And there's rumours, or they're saying that he's going to be out the squad completely for Inter Milan.
Yeah, he's not going to travel.
He's not travelling. So look, nothing's right. Nothing seems to be right at Liverpool with Mo Salah. He's saying that he might have already played his last game for Liverpool, or this next game against Brighton could be his last game for Liverpool.
Well, he said it's a goodbye, but a goodbye before he goes to the AFCON. But he did say, he was kind of didn't commit in terms of saying he's definitely going to be here after January. So I think that situation potentially up in the air.
Look, Mo Salah, if he's got something to take up with the manager, don't go to the press with it. Mm-hmm. Keep it behind closed doors. Go speak to him. Go to his office. Knock on his door. You know what I mean? If your relationship is broken down, then speak to him on a man-to-man basis. Don't go out to the press and start bitching and moaning to everyone and make this whole big hullabaloo and drag Liverpool through the mud, drag yourself through the mud, drag everyone through the mud, so everyone starts speaking about it. And he's got previous of this before.
He's very calculated.
He's got previous of this before, because he spoke about it like this when he was going through that contract situation. So
he said maybe they don't want me. He said, they haven't offered me a deal. Maybe they don't want me to stay.
Yeah. So look, I think Mo Salah's massively in the wrong, but I think maybe the way that they're handling it behind the scenes is probably wrong as well. So I think probably both sides are in the wrong.
Yeah, look, I was calling for Slot to drop Salah, because I feel like the reality. Apparently, I was reading some reports when he signed the new contract in the summer, in the end of last season. Apparently, there was an agreement with Slot that he's going to do, he doesn't have to do as much defending potentially as the other players, because he's going to provide the goals and assists. What Messi does, for basketball, for whoever he plays
what they did with him last season.
What they kind of did for last season. Just get him hanging forward, kind of half cheating, and he provides goals and assists. And
cheating.
Yeah, because you kind of, you're always ready to go and attack, and that's what he provides, and the team kind of make up for it. Now he feels like that promise has been broken. He's asked to defend too much, all this kind of stuff. I feel that he doesn't provide anything really off the ball. He's not. We know that he's 33. It's not a surprise. But at the end of the day, he's not providing what he was last season. Going forward, he's not getting the numbers. He's not on top of the scoring charts. He's looking out of sorts. I feel like as well, this wing position doesn't really suit him anymore, where he's asked to beat players constantly, and he's asked to kind of take players on and use his pace. I think he might need to find a position maybe similar to Son, where he's just a bit more central and he's closer to goal rather than just being out wide. I think maybe that needs a tactical tweak. But I think it was absolutely fair for Slot to consider dropping him, because he just wasn't providing much. He was kind of hurting the team, I feel. Not to say that all the problems are his fault, and it's not like things have gotten much better since he's come out the team. But you have to say that that has been a bit of a problem, the fact that he's not providing too much on or off the ball. and that's providing a big issue for Liverpool. So I think for Salah to say, I've earned my position, I shouldn't be fined for my place, that isn't how football works. You're only as good as your form you're on. Like any player, doesn't matter how good of a form they've been on in previous seasons, you know, you need results now. You don't just get your spot in the team in perpetuity. You need to earn that spot constantly. That's how football works. And if you're not providing what the team needs, then you're going to be out of the team. Doesn't matter what you've done in previous seasons. And unfortunately, I think Salah, something had to give in terms of how Liverpool were going. I thought Salah coming out of the team, even if just temporarily, just to see if it changes things, I think was a fair decision from Slot. And for him to say that's throwing him under the bus, or they're blaming Salah for all the problems. At the end of the day, they've kept Salah probably in the team far longer than they should have. He could have been out of the team a lot longer, and I think Slot has persisted with him and with the way of playing for a long, long time. So I don't think, you know, it's fair for Salah to say, because he's been out of the team a few games, oh, they're throwing me under the bus, they're blaming me for everything. I just don't think that's true. I think he's throwing his toys out the pram, and he's got to get real about where he is in his career. You can't just have your position forever. And also I think during the game, where was really the opportunity to bring him on? I guess there's always an opportunity, but as you say, yeah, maybe at 2-2, but at the end of the day, they actually went 3-2 up very quickly. Are you really going to bring Salah on when you're protecting a lead? So where was the opportunity? They were 2-0 up. It was 2-2 very quickly. And then they scored 3-2. So it wasn't really a perfect moment to bring on Salah. But I do get it. Is it disrespectful for a player like Salah to remain on the bench for the whole game when he's as good as he is? I understand the argument. For someone with his status at the club, it's not really like it's not really a position he will probably find acceptable. So I do get that. But I think Salah, he's been very calculated here. He's putting out this messaging to put pressure on the manager to start playing him again, and basically kick up a fuss for being on the bench. And it'd be very interesting to see where this leads. At the moment, the word coming out of the club is that they're backing Slot, and he's got the full backing in the board, and he's not under pressure, and maybe Salah's future might be under contention. I get the feeling they'll hug and make up after he comes back, but it doesn't help the situation when he's doing this.
There's no hugging and making up if he's not providing what Arne Slot wants for the team, because what is he just gonna carry on? If they hug and make up, then what? Is he gonna persist with playing him on the right, but he's not?
He'll stop playing again. He's not gonna leave him out forever.
But what if he carries on not providing and not adding the kind of skill sets that Arne Slot needs on that right hand side?
Then he'll be out of the team. But I think he'll start playing again. I think he will start being back in the team. I think the key to this is Slot has to find a way of playing that gets the best out of him and starts getting better results for Liverpool. I think that's the key. You know, if Liverpool hang on to that lead, does Salah come out and say these things? I don't know. I don't know if it would have been the right time. But because they drop points again, you know, he felt like, okay, I've got some ammo here. I can fire at the manager for not playing me.
I don't think he's going. I think they're going to sell him in January.
Nah,
I think he's going to go Saudi.
I don't think they sell him in January. Why would he? If he's so confident in his own ability and he feels like I should be the number one at Liverpool, why would he go Saudi?
For the money, first of all.
So we can do that at the end of the season.
But what if the relationship's completely broke down in Liverpool? Like, you need another European club to come and spend that money on you.
Correct.
Only Saudi are going to do that, I think.
I understand that. I don't think he goes in January. I think
he's going to end up in Saudi.
I think, yeah, he might do. I don't think he does in January. I think it's just a big kind of hullabaloo right now. He's kicking his toys out of the pram. But I think at the end of the day, unless he wants to go Saudi in January, I think he ends up staying at Liverpool at least for another 6 months. I think he tries to earn his place back, and I think he still does have a lot to offer. I know he's not the same player as last season, but I think Slot needs to find, maybe he needs to start, but it needs another centre back to be signed. But maybe play three at the back and play like a 3-5-2 and get two up front, and maybe one of them be Salah. Maybe Salah and Isaac together.
We need to see what happens with Arne Slot, don't we? Because Arne Slot could very well be out of a job by the time he comes back from the AFCON.
I mean, that's also possible at the moment.
And if that happens, then you're all back to square one again, aren't you?
Well, at the moment, Alonso could be out of Madrid. Slot is obviously under pressure. At the moment, the word from the club is they're backing him. The thing is,
right, if Arne Slot goes and they bring in Alonso, I think that's even more of a case that Mo Salah shouldn't be at Liverpool. Like, what's he supposed to do with the way Alonso uses his wingers? You know, up and down the pitch, all this defensive work that he gets his wingers to do. Like, how's Mo Salah going to do that?
But that's what I'm saying. But Alonso can play 3 at the back. He's done that, and at the moment he's playing a formation with Madrid where it's 2 up top. I think that's where Salah needs to be. He needs to be in a front 2 now. I don't think he's a winger anymore.
But all these players are unhappy at Real Madrid, the way they're being utilised and the defensive work that Alonso is getting them to do.
They're all prima donnas. Are they the same?
And Mo Salah's not.
Yeah, he is. but they have a lot of prima donnas, is my point there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about solely Mo Salah here. I'm not talking about the rest of their players.
Yeah, but you can maybe get away with one player, but at Madrid, it's like this one wants to not do defensive work, and that one, like all of them don't. Like in Madrid, at Liverpool, it's kind of just Salah. And maybe you can get away with just one player if he starts providing the output. At the moment, he's not. But I think Liverpool need to go to Isaac and Salah up front with a 3 in the middle. Frimpong when he gets fit with Kirkes at wing back, and they need to maybe play a back 3 of Konate, Gomez, and Van Dijk. And that's where I think at the moment Liverpool need to go, and that's maybe going to get the best out of their forward players. I think they need to change it up.
We'll have to wait and see, but I think it could happen in January, but definitely by the end of the season, I think he's going to Saudi, man. I really believe. Anyway, let's go for Brighton, West Ham. It finished 1-1. Sim went for 3-1. I went for 2-1, both in favour of Brighton, so 0 points here. I don't think Brighton were that good in this game, to be honest. You know, they've been on such a great run of form. But this happens to Brighton, doesn't it? Like, in these random games, they just don't really turn up. And West Ham go 1-0 up with a really good goal from Jarrod Bowen. And then Brighton did kind of turn it on towards the last stage in the game and then grab that equaliser, which I thought should never have been given, to be honest. I think a bit of a disgraceful decision.
Yeah, I don't get it. There's 2 aspects it could have been disallowed. There was an overhead kick, which was... one of the West Ham defenders was competing with the header, so I don't know how that's not high boot. And then there's a clear handball from Rutter. He controls it with his arm. And the rule is so stupid because it doesn't directly lead to a goal. Even though he scores, because it goes to Van Hecke first and then to him, it doesn't, it counts.
In my eyes, that does directly lead to the goal.
How that is allowed because it doesn't directly lead to the goal is absolutely ridiculous. He literally, in the box, controls it with his arm, brings the ball down, and because his shot is saved, it then goes to Van Hecke, who then passes it back to him and scores. It's allowed. But if he would have scored the shot that directly preceded that handball, the goal would have been disallowed. I think it's absolute nonsense. It's a clear handball. I think if you're controlling the ball in the box, that has to be disallowed. I don't understand how that is allowed to stand. I think the rule is broken. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think West Ham have a right to feel aggrieved. West Ham, I thought, put in a good counter-attacking display. They were giving Brighton a lot of trouble throughout the game, and I thought they probably deserved to come away with the win. But Brighton, to be fair to them, they did create a few chances late on after going 1-0 down, and the pressure told in the end, and they ended up getting the draw. But I think if Nuno, he was fuming after the game, and I think rightly so. I think it was a disgrace. But it's a point for West Ham. As much as it's a good point, they're now 4 without a win again, and still in the relegation zone. Could they be in the relegation zone come Christmas?
Depends who they got. Who do they have? Let's see.
Never a good sign to be in the relegation zone.
Well, actually, they very well could be because they got Villa next. They got Man City away after that. Fulham at home, which they have to win. Then they got Brighton again. And, Brighton's after Christmas. So, yeah, they will be because I can't see them beating Villa or Man City. I think those are 2 losses, so they'll be in the relegation zone come
As
Christmas.
much as they've improved, I think, in recent weeks, they're still in the relegation zone now. And is this the season? Could West Ham realistically actually go down?
They're in a scrap for it, for sure. I don't think they'll end up going down, but they're definitely in a scrap for it, for sure. They're only 2 points, but still, they need to start picking up regular wins. I think they're better than Leeds. I think they're better than Forest. I think they're better than even Fulham. In terms of the personnel that they have in the squad. So
the problem for them is Leeds are starting to turn it around. That's got to be a big concern.
I think this is, it's been a few great performances from Leeds, but I think that form will turn eventually.
Yeah, but we didn't see that good form coming.
No, we didn't.
And now that it's there, you're like, okay, geez, can they keep that up?
Yeah, the thing is, there's just so much football left to be played. Like, there's over half a season. Like, I think it's too early to talk about, just because they're in the bottom 3 by Christmas means they're going to be going down. Of course they're there, and it's a worry, and they're going to be in for a relegation battle this season. But I do think there are more than 3 teams worse than them this year.
I do as well, but this is probably the biggest relegation fight they're going to have in the recent seasons.
Yeah, probably since they went down. All right, let's go to Craven Cottage as Crystal Palace went to Craven Cottage and won 2-1. Great score, great result for Crystal Palace here. We both went for 1-1, and it was close to being a 5-pointer. Mark Gehi comes in clutch, 87th minute. Mark Gehi has scored 2 goals, got 4 assists this season for Crystal Palace. I mean, what a season he's having on the back of a brilliant season he had last year. I think he's like phenomenal pretty much every game. And Liverpool need to do everything that they can in their power to sign him. He's only got 6 months left in his contract. Crystal Palace...
Nine goal contributions in all competitions. How bad is that for a centre-back?
Crystal Palace are now the away team of the campaign. I think they've got the best away form in the Premier League. Fulham, you know, they were going really well at home this season, and I was fully expecting a draw or maybe even Fulham to nick this one. But you got to give massive credit to Crystal Palace for getting 3 points at Craven Cottage.
Yeah, and they obviously took the lead early on. Brilliant goal through Eddie Nketiah, but Fulham very quickly got back in the game. By the way, Harry Wilson, what a left foot that guy has. What a goal he scored outside of the boot. A little like delicate finish on the edge of the box. And he's got a knack for club and country now in recent months.
Scored a hat-trick, didn't he, for Wales last time out. Scored that goal against Tottenham. I mean, he's got such a different variation of goals as well, didn't he? He can do it all.
He's one of those players. I think he's going to go into the school of like underappreciated players who've got a wand of a left foot. Players like, you know, James McFadden, Chris Brunt, some of these players who just score spectacular goals. I think two guy. He's gonna go into that category, isn't he? He's on his way there. He's scoring some brilliant goals, Harry Wilson, and he did again yesterday. But yeah, I thought the second half Palace do seem to tend to tie usually, but to be fair, they kept up yesterday and got the late goal, and it's a brilliant moment. They're in the top 4, which is madness. That they're 15 games in, they could easily be in the top 4. I mean, look, there's a few games between now and the Christmas Day, and it's the point is so tight, so they could easily drop out. But for Palace to be 4th at this stage of the season is probably beyond their wildest dreams. After winning that FA Cup, after losing Eze, after also having the Conference League, the fact that they're so high in the league is incredible, absolutely incredible. You've got to give so much credit to Glasner. He's working absolute wonders on what you've got to say is a shoestring budget over there at Selhurst Park. So phenomenal job he's doing this season, and they just keep going from strength to strength at the moment. They just keep picking up points. Brilliant win. Fulham, well, they were okay. I don't think it was a bad performance. They've been better lately, so I don't think they'll be too down. But to lose it late on will be gutting for them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this. So obviously Crystal Palace play Man City next game, and I think Man City will count their lucky stars that they've got 2 European fixtures sandwiched either side of the Man City game. So I do think Man City will probably win that now, actually, having a think about it. But yeah, massive credit to Glasner, another 3 points. And Marco Silva's, you know, he's doing better, but he's still got a big job on his hands. He's too close to the relegation zone as he would have anticipated.
Yeah, they're 4 points away at the moment, so yeah, definitely too close for comfort.
So who do Fulham have? Fulham's next game is Burnley away. Wow, and
if they lose that, oh my god.
And then Forest at home.
Oh
yeah.
They have to. Yeah, they can't lose either. Even if they get 2 draws, that's fine. They can't lose either game.
Starmen, I told you, Sim. Eddie Howe roulette, and that's exactly what happened. Didn't even get on the pitch. It's quite surprising.
Yeah, but your Welbeck didn't exactly do any better.
No, he played and he still did nothing. So, but you're the one that needs to make. Oh, to be honest, the gap is pretty tight. 139 to 146. So you were, 1 goal for Harvey Barnes and you would have been right in there.
Shame. I should have picked Gordon. Got a penalty.
Yeah.
Look, you go swing big and sometimes you miss. What can you do?
Sometimes. Only sometimes. So that is it. Obviously, there is one more game this weekend, which is tonight against Manchester United against Wolves. Wolves winless in, 8 losses on the bounce, haven't scored in like 4 or 5 or however long it's been. And Manchester United, it'll be just classic for Wolves to beat Man United tonight, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll do a quick review of that on Predict the Prem on Thursday. But that is it from us today, and we'll see you next time.